Welcome back everyone to Decon Nation. Inside the garage today, just doing another little project to the 2022 G80 M3. So I've been wanting to do this for a while. This should be an easy, quick little thing to do that I'll show you. So in the front of the car, which you can't see right here and in the back, so in the front I have amber reflectors right on the front fender. And a lot of guys buy the painted ones to match the car. I didn't decide to do that yet, so I'm not sure, so I'm gonna vinyl wrap it. I've done some vinyl wrapping before on previous cars, and that's what I decided to do just for now because it's so cheap and easy to do. Then on the back, on each side of the car, there's some red reflectors that I'm also gonna vinyl wrap right there. So I wanna show you everything I'm gonna use, and then we'll get right to it. So first is the vinyl wrap itself. So this is Vivid Plus Premium. You might be able to see that on the back. I'm not sure if you can. But this is essentially the same type of vinyl wrapping as if you would vinyl wrap the entire car. You know, the paint, as people change colors to the car. But what they make is, they make this vinyl wrapping like a smoked out finish, and this is the lighter of the two. They make one that's really dark, that's essentially almost black, where you can't really see through it, and then this one's like a smoked out version. So I've used these before on some tail lights that I've had, like on a previous M4 and an F250 that I had, where it just smokes out the tail lights, and they're not too dark, but it looks really good. So I'm going to use that on these reflectors right here in the front and in the back, and I figured it's cheap and easy. If I ever want to do something else, it's simple just to peel off and redo. So I have the vinyl wrap. I also have this, so instead of using like a credit card or something, this was part of a kit that I had, came with it. So it's felt tipped where you can just smooth it out as you're wrapping. I also have this to start. So I'm using Adam's Surface Prep. You can use any kind of surface prep, isopropyl alcohol mix. So this is the same type of spray you would use before ceramic coating your car to strip any waxes, sealants, just get everything, get the paint down to the bare bones. So the last time I washed the car a few days ago, I used the Obsessed Garage drying aid, which is slick, so I know that's on there. So I'm going to use this to clean or remove any residue or anything from those reflectors, so the vinyl will adhere better. So I'm going to do that first. I also have a cutter, just to cut a piece of the vinyl. I've got these gloves. So I always wear gloves when I'm doing the vinyl wrapping. It saves fingerprints, especially on the back of the vinyl. You'll sometimes get some fingerprints just from dirty fingers. Also, whenever you're heating the vinyl or using any type of heat gun, this is just some extra protection. You know, I just like using it. So, and I've also got a little tool. This is a little like crevice tool where you can push the vinyl into some little corners or slots. And then I've got a good knife, which is also a Vivid knife, and I'll link all these things in the description just so you know. This is really inexpensive project. The vinyl wrap might only cost you 15-20 bucks for a small roll, you know, and you spend another 10 bucks for a kit for vinyl wrap materials on Amazon. And then if you don't have one, I have a Porter cable heat gun, so I've been using this for all things. So like the bigger jobs that I've done is, like, my wife had a 2020 Roush Stage 3 Mustang, and it was grabber lime. Well, that one didn't come with the black roof, so I had bought a big sheet of gloss black vinyl, and I wrapped the entire roof along with the satellite antenna. I've done many tail lights and things, so it's just something fun to do on the side. So I'll show you how I do that, and it's this job will be fairly simple. We're all set up, and I think the lighting's pretty good. So as you can see, like, I got my gloves on. I do that first. So next I'm just gonna take the Adam's Surface Prep. I'm just gonna spray this down on the reflector. I'm just gonna give it a good wipe. I wanna make sure it's really clean, especially in those corners, because I'm gonna want in that little corner, that edge, to make sure that vinyl wrap you know, like, sits in there and glues in there where you don't get any peeling. It should be real easy to do. Okay. So next thing is I'm just going to cut a strip. So I don't need a very wide strip. So I might just take about an inch here, and I'm going to cut the vinyl all the way. So this thing comes in really handy. So I'm just going to start it there. Let me just get it started. I'll show you in the camera. So I get it started, and it may not work too well because I'm trying to hold it at the same time in the camera. So I'm just going to cut it along the ground. All right, so now I've got a strip, and I'm just going to kind of test, make sure it'll fit over it because it curves. See, so this curves, and I want to cut it wide enough just to make sure that a straight piece will cover the whole thing. And look, here's the key with this stuff, guys, is this is cheap. Take your time. If you mess up, no big deal. You peel it off and do it again. So if I line it up, it should cover it completely. Now the coloring's off, don't worry about that because it has the white backing. We'll see how it looks when it's done. Okay, so I'm just trying to figure how much I need to cut. So probably to about here. So I'm just gonna take that and trim it. And now I've got a piece that should cover the whole thing. Okay, so let me move this extra. This is just an extra little piece. And I like to save these because what these have been good for over time is just me practicing on different areas on the car. Especially if you have an area, I mean, a bigger piece than this would help. But if you have some waste pieces, a bigger piece like a mirror or something you have to stretch over, that takes a little practice. And you probably want to watch some YouTube videos to do something like that, to heat and stretch properly. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to peel the entire backing off. If I can get it started. All right. Okay, I'm trying not to touch it as much as possible. So I'm going to make sure I cover the entire reflector. And I'm just going to kind of hold this. Is very flat and easy to do. So right, it's on there. So these are good too for pressing. So if I had my regular finger, it wouldn't be as smooth, but this is smooth where I can press it down and make sure it glues. And I always just kind of rub with the felt end, and I get in that groove to make sure it's in there good. And I really want it to stick. Okay. See, so you can see already through it how the reflector is smoked out and darker, so I think it's going to look nice when it's done. And it'll probably look even better on the back. It won't leave it so orange looking. All right, so what I'm actually going to do, I might take this little tool and just kind of, I just want to rub it a little bit. I'm just trying to make sure it's in there. Okay, so now I'm going to take my knife. This is the part you just be careful on. So I'm going to start it right in that little groove. Okay, if I just push, and I'm going to let my blade follow the reflector. Okay, just take your time. Turn a little bit so I can see. Just letting my blade follow all the way down. I feel like I almost need my glasses. My eyesight is not the same as it used to be. So again, the curve. And you just want to be careful that you're not, on the paint. But if it fits in that groove, it should slide very nicely and be a guide. Just like that. All the way down. And you'll know if you missed any, so whenever I go to peel it off, the excess, you'll definitely know if you missed it. Okay. So let's see. I'm probably going to take one glove off to peel it. See if I didn't trim all the way. Yeah, I got one little corner right there, so I gotta get this corner a little better. You might have to go the opposite way. Okay, maybe that's better. There we go. All right, so you can start to see how it's smoked out right there. So this is probably just that I need to get back in this groove a little better. There we go. Okay, see that side? All right, see that? So, okay, so next, which may be unnecessary, but just so, the edges tend to be kind of raised a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my heat gun, and let's see, I got it on, it's on the hottest setting right now, so I'm just going to let it heat up a little bit. And you don't need to heat this up too much, just some little passes, and you'll be able to see the edges kind of shrink up. You might not be able to see it on camera, but this stuff gets really tacky when you heat it. But it just kind of sets that glue. And if you want to make sure the edges are set, you can always just kind of guide this along the same time, just to make sure those edges are in there glued down. And that one's done. So not bad. Looking at it. So I don't know how much you can tell on camera versus before, but pretty easy to do. And if you'd see it out in the sun, I'm sure it'd be a lot darker. You could do straight black if you want to match your trim. You could really do whatever you want. They might even make some vinyl wraps that would match paint color. Sometimes they do, but I doubt in this paint color they make one to match really well, where you could just vinyl wrap it instead of having to change it out. But changing it out is probably pretty easy, as I can tell on the inside. But this is just for fun, something to do, and hold me over until I decide if I change them out. All right, so I'm going to do the other side, and then I'm going to do the back. I'll show you the back as well. Okay, so before I did the other side, I kind of wanted to give you a comparison. So here's the one I just did. You can see there, you see it, the smoked out color. It might change a little bit. And it actually looks a little darker in person than it does on the camera, I believe. And I'll come around to the other side of the car so you can see the one that I didn't do. This is much more orange, right? So now you can tell the difference. All right, so we're in the back of the car, and in this shot I wanted to give you a good idea. So this is the reflector in the back that I'm talking about, that I'm coming to right now. But what I've also done is tail lights before, and you can see on the M3 how this is smoked out. It's a clear smoked out portion of the tail light, and then this part is all red. So I think this might look really cool to smoke out right here, where it's not black, but it just gives you that that smoky look. This could be a little bit of a challenge to vinyl wrap because it's got such a hard, it's a curve this way up the car, and it sticks out. So you have to bend and stretch multiple ways. So that could be really tough to do. You got to have some technique there with the heat gun. So I'm not going to do that right now. We're just going to focus on the bottom. So let's get to that. I brought the camera in a little closer so you can see the reflector here. So again, I already pre-cut my piece of vinyl just so it's larger than the actual spot there, but I don't want it too much larger. This one, the only difference is I have to kind of bend it in there, maybe crease it. We'll see if I have to heat it up at all to get it bent in there. So first, again, I just need to wipe it, clean that spot. So this light or reflector, I should say, I could tell, you hear that? It has like some little serial number imprint on there, but that should be okay. Whenever I use the heat gun, it should melt the vinyl right on top of that. It should work fine. All right, just want to make sure it's dry completely and clean. So we're going to take our vinyl again. Let's see if I can get it started. And I've probably got enough to do the taillights. The reason I bought this vinyl was my wife wanted me to do the taillights on her AMG. Because hers is just solid red, very bright red. And I think smoked out would look good on that car. All right, so now see the tinted piece. So let's see if I can kind of get away with it. So I'm just going to guide it on there. And yeah, up in there, see how it's all bent? You can see that. That's just because of the way that light curves in there, but I think it's going to be okay. So I'm just pressing it with a little pressure just to get it all in there. Now this will help in that corner. See, I could really press and sit it down, and there it'll bend your vinyl. That's okay. I want it down in there, just with a little bit of pressure. If you press too hard, you can tear your vinyl. So what I might need to do is just heat this a little bit before I cut it, just to be safe, just to make sure it's all stuck in there and it's on it. Whenever you hit that with the heat, you'll tell it starts shrinking up. So it doesn't need much. You might have saw it fold over that side. Let's see, so I don't know if you can see this piece here. As I hit it, it'll just shrink up. I don't know if you saw that. So it's almost like shrink wrapping. I'm gonna heat up that spot where that little serial number or whatever it is. I don't know if it's a parts number or something, but that looks good. So now one thing I've learned is I'm just going to give it 1 second to cool down a little bit before I cut. So as it cools, this thing hardens back. Right? It softens up when you heat it. But if I cut it when it's soft, it's almost gummy or sticky and it doesn't cut well, and your results aren't going to be as good. So And just taking my Vivid knife, and I'm going to start near the top. Now this one will go in easy and slide right down across that seam, all the way to the bottom. And right along that seam. And the first time I cut, you got to be careful. You know, you definitely don't want to scratch anything else. Don't want to scratch any paint. As long as you just take your time, it should work out all right. So in a corner, if I have trouble, what I do is almost just puncture versus cut. I'll just try and push into that seam right there. So I think I got it. Okay, let's see if it had cut there. You definitely want to make sure it's cooled off before you start pulling. Oh yeah, beautiful. Look at that. So now I'm just going to rub my finger on those edges to make sure they're all down. Again, this tool is going to come in handy, and I'm just going to heat it up again just to make sure. Because any little edges that are sticking out, they'll kind of shrink wrap into that groove. So I'm just going to give it a little heat and kind of rub that edge down in there. I can feel it getting grabby. It wants to stick and get a hold of it, so just kind of give it a nice little pass. And that's it. It looks good. And you should not have a problem with that. That should stay on nicely. And you know, it was completely red before. I'm going to zoom out here. So yeah. So now you can tell. Maybe a little better angle in shot. So remember, it was the same exact color as this red, so now look how it smokes it out nicely. It's not completely black, but just gives it a smoked look. So maybe you can kind of imagine the tail lights too, how that would look. But that is it. Let me slide the camera a little bit. Maybe on this side you could see. Give you a little bit better angle. Right there. But came out good. All right, so that's a wrap for another video. This is something very easy. If you got any questions on it or just curious, again, I'll link everything in the description of where to get the supplies. But this is an easy mod for any car you can really do, especially flat areas like this. Super easy to do on the vinyl. Just take your time cutting. It's only when you get in areas that are not flat that you have to kind of heat and stretch and make sure it's all good to not get any creases. But super simple. Again, I appreciate you guys watching, and stay tuned for more.